I never expected my life to change when a millionaire CEO offered me $1 million for one night. Even as the words left his lips, I could feel the world tilting beneath my feet, as if the very ground had transformed into some treacherous cliff. I could hardly catch my breath, heart pounding, a cold sweat prickling my skin. Who was this man? Why me? My mind raced with questions as flashes of my life flickered before me. Another paycheck gone before it even met my bank account, the weight of debt like a noose around my neck. That I sat there, trembling hands wrapped around a chipped coffee mug, its surface warm yet my insides felt cold as ice. He sat across from me, the embodiment of power and dominance, his tailored suit a stark contrast to my worn jeans and thrift shop t-shirt. His eyes had a glimmer, a spark of mischief or perhaps challenge. I shivered at the thought. $1 million. One night. What would I even do with that? I could pay off my student loans, finally escape my unfortunate address, a cramped apartment with peeling walls and a landlord who never cared. The warmth of hope washed over me for just a moment, then wavered like a candle in the wind. What's the catch? I finally managed to croak out. The words hung in the air, thick with tension. This was too good to be true. He leaned in, the harsh fluorescent lights casting sharp shadows across his face. No catch. Just a proposition that could change both our lives, he breathed, the words sliding silky smooth but laced with an undeniable tension. I could sense a room full of witnesses in my mind: my mother, her anxious gaze that constantly searched for signs of hope, my best friend Clara, her laugh that could brighten even the darkest days, urging me to take risks. And yet, the silence of my choices echoed in my ears, reminding me of past mistakes. Sweat dripped down my back, and I fought to maintain eye contact with him as my heart raced like a runaway train. And if I say no? He smiled, a smug, confident smile anchored in shadows. Then you'll never know what could have been. The words crackled with electricity, sending shocks through my body. I felt like I was teetering on a tightrope, with no safety net below. What did this man want from me? My mind swirled with possibilities. Would it be dangerous? Would I regret it? Then my heart plummeted. Was this just a game for him? A publicity stunt to showcase his wealth? The mere thought made my stomach churn. Moments ticked by, silent yet deafening. I could almost hear my dreams whispering for me to take a leap, yet the fear held me tight in its grip, suffocating the voice of reason. I clenched my fists, nails digging into my palms, feeling the sharpness. I had just spent all my savings on rent, my bank account was dwindling. What would that $1 million mean for me? A new start, new opportunities, or a dark pit I'd never climb out of? Think it over, but I have to know by the end of the night, he whispered like a ghost, leaving a lingering chill in the air. And then, just like that, the stakes were set. The choice loomed, and as shadows danced around us, I realized I stood at a crossroads, my life hanging in the balance. What was the price of a single night in exchange for $1 million? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The cafe, once a sanctuary where I could hide from the chaos of my life, suddenly felt like a cage. I could still hear the quiet buzz of conversations happening around me, the clinking of coffee cups, and the occasional laughter from a group huddled in the corner, their lives seemingly untouched by the weight of dire decisions. Yet I was stuck here, tethered by $1 million proposition that felt almost like a threat rather than an offer. After he left, the shock was still rippling through me. I stared into my coffee, the dark liquid swirling as I contemplated a million things at once. The world could change so fundamentally in just one evening, but what if this was all a trick? What if he was exactly who I feared he was, a puppet master manipulating his subjects with the allure of wealth? I took a deep breath and pushed the cup away, biting my lower lip until the taste of salt from my blood mingled with the bitterness of doubt. A knot formed in my stomach. Do I choose safety? Or do I risk it all on a game I barely understood? Clara's face flashed before me. If anyone would understand my struggle, it would be her. She was always the wild one, the dream chaser, the one who believed in serendipity more than logic. I pulled out my phone, the screen lighting up to reflect my anxious expression. I hesitated but ultimately sent Clara a quick text to meet. I needed to talk to someone, anyone, who could help me navigate this churning storm in my chest. As I waited, I took in the world around me. A couple laughed over shared pastries, a child giggled as they ran to their parent, and somewhere in the back of the cafe, an elderly man slowly turned the pages of a newspaper, his glasses perched precariously on the tip of his nose. Life moved on, oblivious to the tumult brewing just within my borders. Moments stretched into eternity before Clara burst through the door, her energy brightening the dim surroundings. "Hey. I hope you don't mind I brought treats," she chirped, brandishing a paper bag filled with muffins like a trophy. She slid into the seat opposite me, her vibrant aura cutting through the weight of my thoughts. "Clara," I began, my voice shaky. "You're not going to believe what happened." She pulled a muffin free and took a big bite, eyes widening in delight. "Please tell me it involves someone extraordinarily handsome." I chuckled despite my turmoil, the slightest relief warming my insides. "Close enough. A millionaire CEO offered me $1 million for one night." Her mouth dropped open, and for a moment, everything was consumed by vibrations of laughter and disbelief. "Wow. Are you kidding me? Do I look like I'm kidding?" I said, trying to mask the urgency beneath my words. "You know what kind of state I'm in. $1 million would solve everything, but it feels wrong. What if it's a scam?" Clara leaned forward, her expression shifting to something more serious. "Okay, let us break it down. What's the worst that could happen?" I flinched. "I don't even want to think about it. I'm terrified he wants to use me and toss me aside." "It could be degrading, Clara. But what if it's not? What if it's an adventure, a chance to start fresh? You always said you wanted to escape." Her words hung in the air, igniting a longing I'd buried deep inside. Could I truly change my narrative, or would this just add another layer of chaos to my life? I found myself wrestling with the concepts of hope and fear, both dangerously alluring. "Do you think I'm brave or foolish?" I asked. "Brave. Or maybe just in desperate need of a little chaos in your life." A weak smile crept onto my lips, but doubt still gnawed at my insides. There was more at stake than just the money, and I could feel it. "What if you did it?" Clara suddenly asked, her eyes gleaming with mischief. "You could go to his lavish party, meet people, and network. You could use it as a jumping-off point." "And lose myself?" I murmured. "Who do I even become over there?" "You don't know him. Maybe he enjoys manipulation, and I'd just be another pawn in his game." Clara reached across the table, grabbing my hand in her own. "Whatever you decide, remember that you're stronger than you think. You'll always find a way to rise back up." A flicker of hope ignited within me. And yet, that hope was interwoven with trepidation, which left my heart racing. Just as I was starting to think about prospects beyond my fears, my phone buzzed violently on the table. I glanced down, my stomach dropping as a new text appeared from an unknown number. "Don't be foolish. A night like this comes with its own dark prices." My breath caught in my throat, the color draining from my face as I felt the walls close in. What did this mean? Who sent that? I looked up at Clara, panic threading through my voice. "I didn't even give my number out." Her eyes widened. "Who is that? Do you know anyone who could be playing a sick joke?" Dread weighed heavy in my heart as the reality of this night washed over me. The stakes were raised. This was no ordinary proposition. The shadows around my life were thickening, and I stood at a precipice with no idea how deep the fall would be. Was this a moment that could change everything? Or a stepping stone into the darkness I feared? As I exchanged worried glances with Clara, uncertainty twisted like a knife within me. The real game was just beginning. The cafe dimmed around me as the weight of that chilling text settled into my bones. I felt like a marionette with strings fraying, my mind racing while my heart drummed a chaotic symphony against my ribcage. I tried to backtrack. Who could possibly know that I was contemplating this risky venture? Focus, I whispered to myself, but it sounded like a plea, not a command. Clara watched me intently, her face a mask of concern. Okay, let us think through this. It could be just a prank, she said, her voice steadying me momentarily, but I could see the worry in her eyes. We both knew there was something sinister about that message, something that burrowed deep into the uncertainty already blossoming within me. What if it isn't? I asked, glancing down at my phone again, half expecting to see another ominous reminder flashing on the screen. What if it's someone warning me? What if, she echoed, it's just some weirdo trying to mess with you? Ignore it. You know what you want, yeah? I took a deep breath, the stale scent of coffee wafting around me like a fog, lifting just slightly at her words. But that doesn't change what I feel about him. What if he is that kind of man? The shop continued its dance of laughter and chatter, oblivious to the turmoil brewing in my heart. A moment of stillness seized the air as Clara raised an eyebrow, her gaze sparkling. Then you'll protect yourself. You're not stepping blindly into anything. You have instincts, trust them. Her confidence brought a flicker of warmth, but the text still loomed in my mind like a ghost. What if my instincts aren't enough? What if I don't get back up this time? No more what ifs, Clara insisted. She leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms defiantly. You're capable. You're a force. If you need to find out what this is all really about, then do it. Just play it smart. I contemplated her words, and the sharp sting of fear transformed into a resolve I hadn't expected. In Clara's voice, I heard echoes of the girl I used to be, the one drawn to unpredictability and adventure like a moth to flame. For once, I felt that girl breathing life back into me, then Clara's face softened, her thumb tracing the edge of her coffee cup. And remember, I'm here for you. No matter where this takes you. Maybe it was that promise that instilled a tremor of hope. Something in me stirred, urging me to be brave, to reclaim my life from the tight grip of caution. But like clockwork, in that moment of quiet determination, my phone buzzed again. It wasn't a surprise. I knew it wouldn't be good news. I pulled it cautiously toward me, eyes widening as I read the new message, my heart sinking with each word. You can't trust him. Do yourself a favor and walk away before it's too late. The blood rushed to my face, a hot flush of confusion and fear washing over me. Too late for what? I wondered frantically as Clara leaned in, sensing my heightened distress. Is it the same number? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. It is. I exclaimed, fighting to keep the tremor from my voice, but the panic was bubbling over. What is going on? Maybe you should call a friend, Clara suggested, her tone intentionally casual, but I could see the storm raging behind her eyes. Someone who's more connected, who might know about him or understand the situation better. Let us not go in blind. A sliver of harsh reality dawned on me. I had no one. Since moving away and entangling myself in work, I had distant acquaintances but no close connections to pull on. My world had become so small. But who? I stammered. Think. She insisted. There must be someone. What about that guy from your old job, Sam? He seemed to know a lot about the business community. Or your roommate from college, he was always in the know. Each suggestion was a thread pulling at me. Sam had moved away, and my old college roommate had fallen out of touch amid the whirlwind of life changes. My heart sank further into my chest as a revelation hit me. I don't even know who to trust anymore. Clara, what if this whole thing is more dangerous than I ever imagined? The money, the messages, this is beyond anything I anticipated. Clara squeezed my hand, her touch grounding me. You can still take it slow. Approach this carefully, and trust me to help. Maybe if you meet the CEO, just have an exit plan. A safety plan. Easy for you to say, I murmured, the dark undercurrents of fear creeping into my voice, but Clara pressed on. No matter where you go from here, you're not alone in this. I took a moment to absorb her words. Decisions lay heavy on my shoulders, their weight promising to crush me beneath their uncertainty. But before I could respond, my phone buzzed a third time. This time, I already knew it wouldn't be a warning but another chilling reminder of the dangerous chess game I was unwittingly playing. The invitation is still open. Don't let fear take the lead. I looked up, my gaze meeting Clara's as the world around us faded to a dull whisper. Paralyzed by the looming sense of dread, the question reverberated through my mind. How did this stranger know me so well when I didn't even understand the power he held? As the cafe buzzed back to life, I felt like an outsider, a prisoner in my own skin, standing on the edge of an abyss once more, with no clear path ahead. What awaited me at this billionaire's party? Buried somewhere behind that enticing fortune was a truth I could sense lurking dark, enigmatic, and inching ever closer. Would I dare to face it? Or would I be drawn under? The sun dipped beneath the horizon, transforming the day into a canvas of twilight hues, a misaligned harmony of beauty and unease, much like the feelings swirling in my chest. I stood outside the cafe under a waning sky, grappling with the shadows stretching before me. Clara's encouraging words echoed in my mind, supportive but distant like whispers carried away by the evening breeze. Don't let fear take the lead. Who was I kidding? Fear had been my closest companion for so long, wrapping itself around my thoughts like ivy creeping up an old wall. With each reminder of the text messages, my resolve flickered like a dying flame, leaving me feeling cold and vulnerable. Okay, I uttered to myself, straightening my posture despite the uncertainty cloaking me. I can do this. But the deeper layers of my mind uncoiled a stubborn doubt. The invitation loomed over me like a guillotine, and even the promise of pursuing a lucrative opportunity felt tainted by the warnings. As I reflected on the stakes, each second felt heavier, pulling me further down a path I never wanted to tread. Hey, I called to Clara as she stepped beside me, fidgeting with the strap of her bag. Should we go back inside? I think I could use some more coffee. She shot me a sideways look, tilting her head. Or we could just head back to my place. There's something I want to show you. Curiosity piqued, I nodded. If I was going to plunge into the unknown, I might as well make the most of the company, and Clara always seemed to have a knack for distracting me from my spiraling thoughts. Within moments, we arrived at her small apartment, a cozy haven lined with eclectic pieces each telling a tale of her adventures. She threw a few pillows on the couch, inviting me to sink into a world far removed from my reality. What's so special that it needs to be discussed outside the cafe? I asked, half-heartedly masking my anxiety with playful banter. Clara took a deep breath, her expression turning serious. I found something when I was cleaning the other day. I thought about keeping it to myself, but she gripped the edge of her coffee table, her knuckles whitening. I believe it might help. It feels relevant to what you're going through. With a flourish, she retrieved an old, ornate box from a nearby shelf, dust particles dancing in the light as she placed it on the table between us. I leaned in, noticing the intricate carvings etched in swirling patterns. This belonged to my grandmother, Clara explained. She used to say that every piece told a story of her past connections made, moments cherished. This one? She paused, her voice dropping a notch. She said it held courage. It might sound silly, but I want you to have it for good luck. You know, to remember that you aren't defined by fear. Emotions surged within me, a cocktail of gratitude and fear, mingling beneath the surface. Clara, I can't take this. It's your family heirloom, a piece of your history. You won't be taking it, she countered gently, yoke of sincerity glimmering in her eyes. I'm giving it to you. Besides, it's not just about luck. It's about the power passed through generations. Sometimes you have to believe in something bigger than yourself. A lump tightened in my throat as warmth washed over me, the sincerity of her gesture erasing the chill that had settled in my heart. I reached for the box, feeling its cool surface beneath my fingertips, a tangible reminder that kindness existed in a world mired in darkness. But before I could voice my gratitude, the evening's fragile warmth fractured as my phone vibrated once again, a persistent reminder of the chaos I was trying to escape. With a heavy heart, I glanced down, my breath hitching. This message didn't come from the unsettling number I was growing accustomed to. Instead, it was a name that sent shockwaves through me, Jack. My brain struggled to process the connection, a confused mess of emotions overlapping. I can explain everything. I need you to meet me. I looked up, a myriad of questions piercing through my thoughts, blinking against the unexpected intrusion. Who is it? Clara asked, her brow knitting in concern. It's him, I breathed, a mix of fear and desperation rolling over me. Jack. He wants to meet. Do you think it's safe? She pressed, and there was urgency in her voice. 1,000 scenarios raced through my mind, their brutal possibilities gnawing at the edges of my courage, just as the words of the ominous messages lingered warnings I couldn't shake. I don't know, but I'm scared. She reached out, placing her hand over mine, grounding me. Then you don't have to go. You can choose to walk away. The weight of her support felt both soothing and stifling, pushing me toward raw confrontation with my own fears. But also a raw, pulsating longing. I need to understand. This whole situation, it feels tangled, and I can't unravel it without facing him. Something tells me there's more at play. Even as I spoke, a gnawing doubt wove through my resolve, a thread unraveling my bravery. My heart raced at the thought of confronting Jack, familiar yet foreign, my mind reflecting fragments of past moments when he was the only constant. Yet, that bond now felt tainted by shadows I couldn't yet grasp. Probably not, I whispered, standing at the edge of a precipice, torn between empowerment and unease. Would I spiral deeper? Or would I emerge victorious? Clara squeezed my hand tighter, grounding me in the storm of confusion, and all I could think about was how those fleeting moments of hope could twist into something dark faster than I ever anticipated. As the invite flickered again in the backdrop of my mind, a chance to confront my fate and know no longer in silence, the ground beneath me felt hollow, and the looming entry into Jack's world whispered the promise of danger that sent shivers down my spine. But I had to choose, didn't I? Would I follow the thread? Or would I disentangle myself from the very fabric binding me to an unfinished story? In that moment of reckoning, a new message vibrated softly in the background, a stark reminder of the life-altering choice ahead of me, and my fingers hovered over my phone, torn between the past and the uncertain future waiting just a heartbeat away. The message buzzed ominously in my hand, a new glimmer of uncertainty flashing across my mind like wildfire. The words remained an echo, reverberating off the walls of the small, cozy apartment where Clara's warmth wrapped around me like a protective blanket. It was as if the universe had pivoted me between two worlds, the tranquil safety of friendship and the treacherous echoes of a shared history with Jack. What did he say? Clara's voice slipped through the tension hanging in the air. Each moment stretched and contracted, the atmosphere thickening under the weight of my indecision. That I stared at the screen, heart pounding erratically in protest. He says he can explain everything, I whispered, agonizing over the betrayal I once thought I could brush aside but now faced head-on. He wants me to meet him. Are you really considering it? Clara asked, her concern rising like the tide. You don't owe him anything. But did I? Beneath the layers of anguish and betrayal, a flicker of something deeper struggled to break free. A longing, perhaps. To look into his eyes and hear his voice again, to understand the entanglement that had brought darkness swirling around both of us. My mind fought against the impulse, but the thread of curiosity wound itself tighter around my chest. I couldn't let fear stifle me now. I don't know, I confessed, squeezing Clara's hand in desperation. But I can't shake the feeling that there are answers locked inside him. I looked down at the ornate box, Clara's gesture glimmering with promise. But what if those answers lead to more pain? Instead of answering me, Clara just looked into my eyes, searching for clarity beneath the tumult. You should listen to your intuition. If you feel compelled to meet him, then maybe it's worth considering, but approach it cautiously. Go in with your eyes open. The belt of hope tightened around my heart, weighed down by uncertainty. No longer could I avoid the choices that lay ahead. I had to confront the fragments of a past that had shaped the woman I was becoming. Reluctantly, I typed a quick response, my thumbs trembling over the screen. Where and when? Just as I hit send, the doorbell rang, slicing through our hushed dialogue. I jumped, heart rate spiking, but Clara remained unfazed. She moved to the door, casting me one last reassuring glance, as if to say she was there to hold my hand through whatever unfolded. When Clara opened the door, I was not prepared for the familiar face that stood before me. It wasn't Jack, but her neighbor, an elderly woman adorned in a colorful scarf. She grasped a freshly baked pie wrapped in foil, her eyes twinkling with delight. I thought you might enjoy a slice of something sweet. I can't keep it all to myself, she said cheerfully. Clara's face broke into a smile, her earlier worry momentarily forgotten. Thank you so much, Mrs. Jensen. You're so thoughtful. Mrs. Jensen beamed, pride creeping into her features as if she had offered us a treasure. You young women work too hard. Sweetness is what keeps us going. I watched the exchange, the warmth from the woman momentarily washing away the coldness in my heart. The simplicity and kindness in this small encounter struck me deep. It was a reminder that cracks of light exist even when shadows loom large. It nudged me toward hope, a fragile yet resilient flame that wrapped tightly around my very soul. As Clara ushered Mrs. Jensen inside, she shot me a knowing look, sensing the transformation taking place within me. The pie filled the living room with an intoxicating aroma, a stark contrast to the unsettling thoughts clouding my mind. We settled down, sharing slices of pie beneath the muted light of the apartment, laughter mingling with the flavor of sweet memories. Yet, with each bite, I couldn't shake the impending meeting with Jack, the flavor of uncertainty mixing with the pie, bittersweet and heavy. The conversation with Clara felt sacred, like two sisters weaving through the fabric of life. Yet, I was also acutely aware of the ticking clock. I couldn't escape the growing tension. Eventually, the calls of the outside world slipped back into focus. My phone buzzed once more, pulling me from the cozy cocoon we had created. Jack's name flashed, a reminder of my tangled reality. Clara, I hesitated, the weight of the incoming doom heavy in my chest. What? You look like you've seen a ghost, she teased softly, but her concern welled up behind her laughter. It's from Jack again. He wants to meet and it's in an hour. I felt the weight of all my choices crash down around me, an avalanche of emotion threatening to surface. Can you just tell him no? Clara suggested, as if it were the simplest solution in the world, fluttering her fingers in care. You don't have to go. You have a choice. But the clarity fell apart as I considered my response, each hesitation compounding the fear fracturing within me. This decision would define my path, with Jack at the center. Just as I opened the message to respond, something in the room shifted. The doorbell rang again, and the moment staggered. I exchanged a look with Clara, dread pooling in the pit of my stomach. Not again, I murmured. Clara stepped to answer it, but before she reached the knob, the hinges creaked open. To our astonishment, there stood a figure. It was Jack, his expression unreadable, the shadows of the evening draping around him. Can we talk? He asked, the plea in his voice unmistakable, twisting the atmosphere taut with unresolved tension. In that moment, breath left my lungs, reality crashing over me like a wave, leaving me exposed and raw. The questions I had fought to suppress for far too long swirled around me like a tempest. Clara glanced between us, her support palpable, yet her presence had transformed into an observant spectator at the precipice of a storm, and I stood there, a million thoughts twisting through my mind, my instincts fueled not only by fear but by an undeniable pull towards the truths buried in our shared past. As the gravity of my decision loomed over me, I realized then that the path I was about to choose would either shatter me or lead to the illumination I desperately craved. Would I step forward into that storm, or would I allow it to sweep me away? Time froze, and the weight of my choice hung suspended in the air, poised to change everything once again. The air thickened around us, the unsaid words rushing through the silence like a freight train barreling down the tracks. Jack stood at the threshold, neither stepping inside nor retreating into the night. His ruffled hair hinted at a restless night, and the sheepish look in his eyes was a stark contrast to the man I remembered, the unapologetic force who had left me shattered. Clara's protective instincts ignited as she boldly stepped in front of me, her expression shifting from concern to fierce defiance. "What do you want, Jack?" she demanded, stance squared, every bit the lioness defending her territory. "I just need to talk to her, Clara," he said, his voice shaking with an undertone of vulnerability that caught me off guard. "Please." Clara hesitated, torn between her instinct to shield me and the understanding of my need to confront my past. She glanced briefly at me, seeking affirmation, yet all I could manage was a silent nod, though a storm brewed within. She stepped aside but remained within earshot, ready to leap back into the moment should the need arise. "Let us go to the balcony," I suggested, heart racing as a multitude of questions and unprocessed emotions flooded through me. I didn't want this conversation to be tainted by Clara's protective presence. I also knew I needed to face whatever truths he had come to share, for better or worse. As we stepped outside, the cool evening air brushed against my skin, grounding me amidst the whirlwind of thoughts. The city sprawled beneath us, lit up like a constellation caught in a perpetual dream, and I suddenly felt small beneath its vastness. "What do you want to talk about, Jack?" I began, drawing my breath to steady the tremor in my voice. He ran a hand through his hair, his demeanor shifting from fervent to hesitant. "I know I hurt you, and I'm sorry for everything. I didn't mean to vanish like I did, but I had reasons, complicated ones. You deserve to know the truth." Anger flared within me like a fiery compass guiding my response. "Complicated? That's your excuse? You left me drowning in uncertainty, no explanations, no closure." Each word fell heavy, infused with the heartache that had become part of my daily existence. "I know, and I've regretted it every day," he replied, eyes pleading softly. "But I can't undo what's been done. I came back to explain, to mend what I can, if that's even possible." The longing to hear his side wrestled with my instincts of self-preservation. "Mend? How do you expect to mend something that you shattered, Jack?" I pushed back, my voice rising with passion. His expression darkened, a flicker of pain crossing his face. "By being honest. Please just listen. Can you do that for me?" The silence stretched between us, the tension sparked even as the allure of finally grasping the truth beckoned me closer. Against my better judgment, I shifted slightly, allowing him to speak. "I was involved in things I can't fully explain yet. Things that made it impossible for me to stay. It was about my family and ties I thought I had broken. But then I realized I could no longer drown in my guilt without facing you." His eyes bore into mine, holding a mix of desperation and sincerity that made the air heavy with uncertainty. "Your family? What's that got to do with anything?" My heart raced as I sought to piece together the jigsaw of his words. "They made choices for me without my consent, and I had to escape for the sake of my sanity. I thought running away would shield you from that world. But in the end, it only brought us here to this moment." Each revelation pulled me closer toward him yet pushed me further into confusion. A paradox that left me choking on emotions I'd kept at bay for far too long. "And what do you want from me now, Jack?" "I don't even know who you are anymore," I whispered, feeling as if I were standing on a precipice, teetering on the edge of everything we once shared. "I want to earn your trust back, but I know it may be too late." Just as his words wrapped around me like a shroud, a sudden ringing snapped me back to reality. My phone vibrated insistently in my pocket, the noise drawing both our attention. Jack's eyes locked onto mine, searching, wanting something from me I wasn't ready to give. Ignoring the phone for a heartbeat, I felt burdened by the dilemma of choosing between the past haunting me and the uncertain future unfold before me. But the muffled sound persisted, a reminder of reality intruding on this intimate confrontation. "Just answer it. It could be important," he urged, his voice barely above a whisper, tension crackling between us. Reluctantly, I pulled my phone free, intent on dismissing the call. But when I saw the unfamiliar number flashing across the screen, a chill washed over me. "It's a private number," I muttered, heart racing in sync with the rising dread coiling in my stomach. Against all better judgment, I accepted the call, my pulse drumming in my ears. "Hello?" I asked, my voice wavering. "Is this Sophie?" A crisp voice answered, sending tremors through my fingers. Yes, I stuttered, confusion fraying my resolve. Do not forward any private messages left for you by Jack. He isn't who you think he is. The world around me faded, the warmth of the evening dissipating into a cold void as the words echoed ominously in my mind. I glanced up at Jack, his expression contorting into a mask of disbelief, panic rising in the depths of his eyes. What did they say? He yelled, clawing towards me, the accusation hanging in the air as heavy as the burden I was just beginning to comprehend. In that moment, the ground beneath me shifted once again, and all semblance of my plans shattered as truth leapt forward, pulling me down a dark alley of uncertainty and fear I was utterly unprepared to navigate. The world around me spun, and I tried to catch my breath as Jack's features blurred into the distance, his voice ringing distorted in my ears. What did they mean by that? Who called you? The urgency in his tone was palpable, but it only deepened the chasm forming between us. I don't know. The words escaped me in a jumble, my mind racing with implications. Had he been lying to me? Was there another truth lurking beneath his carefully constructed facade? The call had rattled me to my core, inciting all the anger and confusion I had sought to contain. The stranger's words weighed heavy on my heart, and I instinctively took a step back, looking at Jack as though he were a complete stranger now, the safety I had felt moments ago crumbling to dust. When were you going to tell me the truth? I demanded, clenching my fists, fighting back the rising tide of betrayal. How much more of your life are you keeping from me? How can I trust anything you say now? Jack took a step forward, desperation etched across his face. Sophie, please. I know it looks bad, but I swear I'm not hiding anything malicious from you. I came back to put things right, not to draw you back into my world. My heart echoed with the wild rhythm of doubts and fears. This was not the reunion I had envisioned, and with every flicker of confusion that passed between us, I felt a fresh wound carve itself into the spaces where hope had once lived. I need to know who called. What did they mean about you? My voice cracked at the edges, fear and suspicion twisting together like venomous vines choking the light. What do you want me to say? That my past is a tangled mess? That I didn't want to drag you into it? I thought protecting you meant leaving, he exclaimed, frustration breaking through his careful control. But that was the wrong choice, I can see that now. Protection? I scoffed, the bitterness rising like bile in my throat. You think running away like a coward is protection? You think you can just pick up where we left off? Perhaps you don't realize those threads are long gone, torn by your own hands. A silence loomed in the air, charged with unspoken battles and unresolved feelings. Then, unexpectedly, the phone buzzed in my hand once more, my only tether to whatever frail sense of clarity still existed. With shaky hands, I glanced at the screen. The private number had called again, a persistent reminder of the storm eclipsing my heart. Ignoring Jack's anxious gaze, I slid my finger across the screen and accepted the call without hesitation. Hello? My voice trembled, each breath heavy with uncertainty. Sophie, listen carefully, the voice on the other end was clipped and urgent. They're watching you. Jack is not who he claims to be. I can help you, but you need to meet me. Who are you? My voice broke, panic rising anew within me. What do you mean Jack isn't who he claims to be? Time is running out. Meet me at the cafe on 5th and Maple. I'll explain everything. Just trust me, the voice insisted before hanging up abruptly. I stood there, centered in a storm of anguish and confusion, the edges of my world fraying as uncertainty swirled around me. Jack moved closer, his expression shifting swiftly from frustration to concern, desperation flickering beneath the surface. What did they say? I don't know. I interrupted, the wave of confusion engulfing me. They want me to meet someone. They think you're lying. An instinctual shiver crept down my spine as Jack's face paled, fear taking hold where frustration once reigned. Sophie, I promise I'm not lying to you. I have nothing to hide. You have to believe me. With every frantic beat of my heart, the sensation of trust one had built crumbled before me. All of it felt like half-truths and shadows. I stepped back again, moving further into the cool night air that no longer felt comforting. I don't know what to believe anymore, Jack. I need time. Time? He looked wounded, almost as if my words had punched through the armor he had built around himself. You're going to give them time? Whoever they are? You don't know what they want from you. Neither do you. I fired back, feeling the sharp edges of shock and betrayal begin to form a barrier that would conveniently keep him at bay. The only thing I know is everything in me wants to run to snatch back what little peace I have. In an impulsive move marked by desperation, he reached out, but I flinched, dodging his touch as if his hands were flames threatening to sear my skin. Please, don't. I breathed, almost shakily, staring deep into his eyes that reflected a confluent mix of sorrow, frustration, and longing. And then, in that charged moment of silence, we both felt it, the unmistakable tension that urged us toward healing but deepened the chasm of distrust. With every heartbeat, it became clear that there were too many unresolved questions, too many layers of secrets shrouding our very existence. Suddenly, the streetlights flickered around us, casting shadows that seemed to stretch and whisper warnings of impending danger. I turned sharply, as if sensing an approaching presence, and my heart plummeted as another figure emerged from the darkness, breaking the fragile moment we shared. Is this where we find you, Jack? The voice was venomous, a stranger cloaked in a suit that evoked an air of authority and menace. I believe we have some unfinished business. In a split second, the ground beneath us shifted again, reality spiraling down into an abyss of uncertainty. My breath hitched, paralyzed by the sudden realization that this was only the beginning of a new, twisted chapter, a confrontation I had never predicted but that now felt like the only conclusion to the confounding puzzle of Jack's return. The echoing footsteps of the stranger seemed to amplify the chaos within, their crisp cadence clashing dissonantly with the tumultuous thrum of my heart. I stood wedged between Jack and this imminent threat, my breath caught in my throat as uncertainty coiled tightly around me. Who are you? Jack demanded, his voice rising in pitch, layered with a mixture of protection and dread. The figure laughed, a low, unsettling sound that shot chills down my spine. You know who I am, don't you, Jack? The past has a way of creeping back in when you least expect it. He stepped into the dim light, his features coming into focus. A sharp jaw, icy blue eyes, and a self-assured smile that edged on predatory. Just walk away, Marcus, Jack replied, his face gaining color, an array of emotions swirling through him: anger, fear, guilt, the clarity of his anguish stark against the confusion clouding my thoughts that I felt adrift in the rising tide of conflict, the sea of overwhelming emotions threatening to swallow me whole. Jack, what is happening? I whispered, desperately seeking answers, as if uttering those words could somehow restore the stability rapidly slipping from beneath my feet. Just listen to me, Sophie, Jack urged, his voice a harsh whisper laden with urgency. This is not your fight. Just go home. I'll handle this. Before I could respond, Marcus's amusement spilled into the air like poison. Handle this? Please, Jack. You had your chance when you walked away. Going home is not an option for her anymore. Not when I have unfinished business with you. My mind raced with the implications of his words. What could Jack possibly have done that was worth this man's wrath? My instincts screamed at me to retreat, to put space between us and the encroaching darkness, but my legs felt rooted to the ground. Jack, what is he talking about? What have you done? The words slipped from my lips like a plea, each syllable laced with disbelief. Jack opened his mouth, but Marcus cut him off. You really don't want to know, sweetheart. Some secrets are best left unspoken. His gaze slid over to me, his lips twisting into a smirk that sent a jolt of revulsion through me. But for the sake of entertainment, I might just share a few. Before I could react, Jack stepped in front of me, shielding me with his body as if that could somehow shield my heart from the impending revelation. Don't, he warned, his breath shaky. You have no right to drag her into this. Don't I? Marcus leaned in closer, a predator closing the distance to its prey. You see, Sophie, Jack may look like your typical charming hero, but beneath that surface lies a world of choices that haunt him. You ever wonder why he left in the first place? I could hardly breathe, apprehension thickening the atmosphere around us. What are you talking about? I managed to croak out, my voice barely above a whisper. There's more to Jack's story than you know, Marcus taunted. Oh, it's a delightful tale of betrayal and loss, with the kind of dramatic twists that leave the innocent hearts shattered. Stop! Jack roared, but I could sense the vulnerability beneath his anger, the fragility of his carefully constructed facade threatening to unravel further with each taunt. Why don't I just tell you the story, sweetheart? Marcus continued, eyes gleaming. It begins in a world you don't belong to, where Jack made a choice to save himself but left others, including an innocent girl, to bear the consequences. I felt my legs tremble, a cold wave of betrayal washing over me. Every loyal part of my heart wrestled with the urge to defend Jack but faltered as seeds of doubt festered in my thoughts. Bits of their confrontation began to paint a disturbing picture, one I was far from ready to see. Without warning, a pulse of hope fluttered within me. Maybe I don't have to hear this from you, I said, clutching onto that fragile sliver of resolve. I need to hear it from Jack. A flicker of surprise crossed Marcus's face before he laughed softly, exuding disdain. Oh, honey, you're clinging to a man drowning in deception. How sweet, but let us be real. What do you really know about him? Enough, Jack interjected, his posture becoming defensive. You may think you can manipulate her with your words, but you don't know her like I do. Sophie has a strength you'll never comprehend. That single declaration, spoken amidst the backdrop of chaos, ignited a smidgen of courage within me. But as quickly as it sparked, shadows of uncertainty threatened to choke it out that I wanted to scream, to break free of this suffocating web woven by doubt and anger. Fear contorted my vision, and at that moment, my heart was an open wound exposed to the world. Why can't you just tell me the truth? I pleaded with Jack, longing to reel back time to before secrets clouded our fragile connection. Before he could respond, a loud crash reverberated in the distance, something shattered, an ominous reminder that our time was rapidly running out. Jack's eyes flared with determination, and he nodded slowly, almost imperceptibly, as if the gravity of this moment had crystallized in a way that required acceptance. Just then, Marcus's expression morphed from amusement to something dangerous. Running out of time, indeed. I suggest you come clean, Jack. Or else, the consequences for both of you could be catastrophic. My heart raced, sensing that this confrontation was merely the opening act in a harrowing saga unfolding before us. The sharp tang of impending danger curled in the air, suffocating the flickers of hope that dared to rise. Jack's resolve wavered, the colors of his emotions flashing vividly across his features. As the tension thickened, I realized that my life was skewing dangerously off the track I thought I knew. And just as clarity began to resurface, the cliff's edge loomed closer, ready to send me tumbling into an abyss of truth I may not be prepared to face. In that charged moment, as Jack's eyes searched mine for answers, I could almost see the shadows dancing behind him, the secrets weighing him down, and the piece of my heart teetering on the brink of an unfamiliar precipice, caught in the swirling chaos of revelations yet to come. The air crackled with tension as I stood between the two men, my heart racing faster than I ever thought possible. Every moment stretched, filled with the weight of unspoken truths, and in the depths of uncertainty, I sensed the fragile threads of hope beginning to unravel. Jack's eyes were a storm, swirling with regret and fear, while Marcus's icy demeanor subtly cracked, revealing an intensity that heightened my own unease. Please, let us just talk, I interjected, my voice trembling despite the urgency I felt. Jack, I need to understand what's really going on. Each word laced with a desperation I could barely contain. Perhaps if I pushed hard enough, I could break through whatever barriers Jack had built around him. Marcus smirked, stepping back as if my plea was some grand performance unfolding before him, a harbinger of chaos he delighted in. You think Jack will share his burdens so easily? Come on, sweetheart. An unsung hero, drowning in misplaced loyalty, desperately trying to keep you away from his web of lies. Stop it. I shouted, the force of my own feelings igniting a spark. Jack isn't a monster. There must be a reason for whatever happened. But doubt began to gnaw at me, insidious and persistent. Jack's gaze flicked to mine, a silent plea for understanding hidden beneath layers of pain. Sophie, he started, but Marcus leaned in closer, an unsettling grin on his lips. Come on, don't be coy about it, Jack. Tell her about the deal you made. The girl in the compromising position, and the price you paid. Or should I? You know how these stories go. It always ends with someone paying the ultimate price for another's sins. Fire surged through me, igniting my fight-or-flight instinct. I stepped towards Jack, forcing him to meet my fervent eyes. Tell me the truth, please. I need to know. My heart ached as I realized how fragile our bond was, teetering between trust and betrayal. Jack's silence spoke volumes. The anguish etched across his brow shattered my last glimmer of hope. You don't deserve to be dragged into this, he finally whispered. Maybe I do. I shot back, frustration erupting as tears pricked my eyes. I was tired of feeling powerless, of watching the man I cared about shrink under the weight of secrets. If we're going to survive whatever this is, we need to face it together. You can't protect me by hiding the truth. The finality of my words ricocheted through the air, hovering between us like a fragile truce. Marcus chuckled darkly. Ah, the romantic resolve of youth. It makes me sick. And yet, here we are, ripe for a revelation. He waved his hand theatrically, drawing Jack and me into his twisted theater. The girl who thought she could save the day will learn that sometimes the past is far darker than the present. Jack's heroism is budding from guilt, sweetheart. And guilt can't shield you from the fallout. It's explosive. Enough. Jack's voice cut through the tension like a knife, raw and furious. I had never heard him sound so vulnerable, yet so resolute at the same time. I chose to leave to protect you. I didn't want this life for you to entangle you in my mistakes. I blinked through the haze of confusion, searching for clarity in Jack's ferocious gaze. But you never explained why, Jack. If you walked away to protect me, what are you protecting me from? You can't just leave me in the dark. The crashing revelation brought a deafening silence, shattering the room's fragile equilibrium. For an agonizing moment, I could hear the clock ticking, the seconds marching toward yet another countdown, one I wasn't prepared for. Jack swallowed hard, his jaw clenching tight as if grappling with the very essence of his shame. I didn't just leave, Sophie. I made a decision that cost others dearly. I thought it was the right choice, but... The sharp intake of breath from me drowned out the rest of his sentence. You mean someone got hurt? Marcus chuckled, an ominous undertone ringing through every syllable. Ah, yes, there's the twist. A decision that echoes. Poor innocent man, who thinks he can outrun the consequences. As the truth loomed heavy between us, I wished to grasp every piece of Jack's shattered past, to stitch it together like a jigsaw puzzle, only to realize that every missing piece was steeped in darkness, leaving me slack-jawed and trembling. Jack, I need you, I began, but my voice faltered as the enormity of the situation wrapped its cold fingers around me. Before either of us could gather our thoughts, another crash shattered the tension, this time closer, echoing through the air with the vibration of danger. This is just the beginning, my friends, Marcus purred dangerously, his eyes gleaming with predatory delight. You thought the stakes were high? Brace yourselves. You're about to find out just how deep the rabbit hole goes. With that simple proclamation, everything shifted. The faint line dividing our intertwined fates flickered like a candle in a tempest. Reality tugged me closer to the brink, casting shadows that warped my perception, swirling with uncertainty as dread clawed at my chest. Jack, what do we do? My voice faltered under the weight of possibility, yet clarity surged within me. As darkness enveloped us, I clung tightly to my charge of bravery, even as my heart raced, a heart now teetering perilously on the edge of a revelation that could shatter everything I thought I knew. As chaos swirled around me, a cacophony of emotions surged within, threatening to consume me whole. Jack's eyes bore into mine, searching for trust among a sea of doubt, while Marcus leaned in, delighting in the turmoil unfolding before him. Each breath felt warped as I stood teetering on the edge of a precipice, my heart a battleground of uncertainty, anger, and the flickering remnants of love. Jack, please, I begged, my voice a whisper laced with desperation. Tell me what you did. No more secrets. The shroud of confusion around us thickened, pressing down as if the very air conspired against clarity. Jack's voice trembled, raw with vulnerability. I thought I could escape my past, but I didn't. Just leave it chased me. I made a choice to protect you from my demons, but in running away, I only buried the truths I hurt others, and it's haunted me ever since. The weight of his admission hung heavy in the air of fragile, devastating truth that cracked the facade we had both clung to for so long. I need details, I insisted, willing him to continue. Who did you hurt? What did you get yourself entangled in? Marcus stepped forward with an insidious smile, hungry for the chaos simmering between us. Oh, please, don't mislead her, Jack. You didn't just hurt strangers. Your choices had viperous effects on those closest to you, and now it's time to reveal the bitter price. Each word he spoke felt like a knife to my heart, twisting deeper as Jack's expression darkened. I turned to him, scanning his face for answers that felt as elusive as the truth itself. Jack, don't let him manipulate you. We deserve to know. His shoulders folded as if crushed beneath invisible weights. Sophie, I tried to turn away from the family business, the one built on embers of darkness. There was a deal that went awry, leaving behind those who trusted me most. I thought I could disentangle myself, but they wouldn't let me forget. The vulnerability crackled in the tense atmosphere like a live wire. So it was true? The $1 million offer? Was it tied to your family? I probed, each fact revealing threads of a larger tapestry woven with darkness, betrayal, and inner turmoil. Yes, he confessed, his voice strained. The CEO's role, I was an unwilling participant in my family's legacy. And when I fell for you, I knew I had to leave to protect you, not just from the business, but from the cycle of guilt I couldn't escape. A flicker of anguish crossed his features, one that mimicked the confusion in my own heart. But you don't understand, I whispered fiercely, the revelation creating cracks in the veil of our history. You let me walk away with questions. You let me feel worthless when I thought our love was real. You hurt not just your family, Jack, you hurt me, too. Each word tore through the space between us like daggers, bearing the deepest wounds laid bare in our time apart. Suddenly, I became acutely aware of Marcus's presence, a barrier to our connection, his laughter burrowing into my skin like frost. Ah, the tangled web we weave, he chimed in, his voice twisted with a visceral glee. But what's the price for transparency, Jack? Do you think she'll forgive your treachery once she sees the entire picture? I have to try, Jack shot back, his voice low but fierce, each word a declaration laced with defiance. Sophie deserves better than the shadows of my past. His gaze pierced into mine, a blend of yearning and pain swirling in the depth, fueled with determination. I marched toward him, grounding myself within the trembling moment. I want the truth, Jack. Not the half-truths wrapped in silver linings. I have been searching for answers, starving for you to return and tell me what's been haunting you. If we're going to survive, if we're going to salvage this to want a future, I need the whole story. He breathes deeply, the burden of his past settling visibly on his shoulders like a shroud. The truth is that I made choices for selfish reasons, and those choices cost my family, my friendships, and ultimately, you. My attempts to keep you safe eroded the very foundation of trust we built together. Jack's voice shook with emotion, the gravity of his words hanging suspended in the night. Tension crackled through the air, each heartbeat wrapping our fate tighter into a knot of endings and beginnings. Jack, I can't just overlook what happened. I had to rebuild my life when you left. I faced the fallout of your choices, too, even if you didn't see it. The pain was reflected in the shards of our shared memories, the laughter that echoed through laughter-filled moments now tainted by regret. Then let me explain. His voice softened, earnest and vulnerable. Let me show you the man I want to be. I know I can't erase the hurt, but I can try to make amends. It may not be enough, but I need you to know that I am here to fight for you, even in the raging storm. A little flicker of hope threatened to ignite within me, but I wasn't sure if I could afford to. What if his past tales only lead to more heartbreak and confusion? But before I could gather my own emotions, Marcus stepped closer, his voice laced with contempt. This is rich, don't you think, Sophie? He is here to weave another tale. What makes you think he'll stay true this time? Because I have to believe he can change, I replied defiantly, my voice steadying in the eye of the storm. I have to believe in something, in us. Believe all you want, Marcus retorted, his eyes gleaming with malicious delight. But just remember this, the past has an odd way of catching up. Are you prepared for what it may bring? The mess might consume both of you. In a heated moment, Jack stepped protectively in front of me, his resolve solidifying against Marcus's sinister warnings. Whatever comes, I'll face it with her. The fierce determination in his words resonated within me, breaking the chains of fear that had tightened around my heart. In that pulsating moment, it dawned on me that while the shadows were undeniable, we could forge a path through the chaos together. Jack, I whispered, my voice barely above a trembling sigh. We need to face this, whatever darkness looms, whatever has transpired. Together. Turning toward Marcus, I took my stand, determination surging through my veins. But I want to let you dictate my fate. If there are secrets, drag them into the light. Let us face the truth head on. A cacophony of silence enveloped us, thick with tension before an unexpected figure emerged. Clara stood at the doorway, her eyes wide with concern and quiet strength. I couldn't leave you alone with this, she said softly, stepping closer. You're not fighting this battle alone. My heart swelled at her support. I had always known I could count on Clara, but now I felt it could add enough strength to light our way. Jack reached out, linking his fingers with mine, grounding me in a connection that, despite the chaos, felt steadfast. Together, we stand, I echoed, heart racing as I embraced this swirling unknown, the shadows waiting for us just beyond the threshold. The fight wasn't over, it was unfolding before us, revealing that perhaps, even in the depths of darkness, we could find the flicker of light needed to traverse uncertain paths, and as the faces around me settled into a delicate balance of resolution, I lifted my chin, facing both Jack and the looming threat that was Marcus. I will wrestle the truth from the shadows. It's time to confront the past, to reclaim the pieces of ourselves that have been scattered. With a sudden rush of hope, our intertwined hands surged with the promise of fiery vulnerability, and I whispered into the night, let us do this. In that moment, I knew that we were not just fighting our past, we were fighting for a future wholly uncertain, utterly vulnerable, yet supremely ours. Amidst the tumult, my heart caught fire with purpose, determined to rise above even the darkest of secrets, because, after all, the dawn shone brightest against the backdrop of night, unveiling the strength needed to confront every shadow that dared to linger.